بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our Muharram series on family and Mahdawi Tarbiyah. So we started in the last session discussing the second 7 years of Tarbiyah for children. And in particular, we talked about few instructions. One was about the significance of creating a culture of salat. This was the last thing that we discussed. And we mentioned two particular points. One was to make sure that there is a beautiful environment and also a very welcoming atmosphere at home about salat, as well as in a school, in madrasa. For a child, salat is a very reliable, very strong link with faith, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salat, as we said, is the pillar of faith, so it's to be the pillar of our life. And in order to encourage a child that wholeheartedly and without any hesitation go for salat, we need collaboration of parents, siblings, if the child is younger, a school, community, so that they all give the same signal. The child would see that all of them have taken salat seriously, and also a nice and friendly and welcoming environment. If there can be a special place at home for salat, that place should be the most attractive place at home. But not attractive by putting too many furniture or things there. No, attractive in the sense that the light, the smell, the cleanliness, they should be there. You love to go there and you enjoy when you are there. Even whenever a child wants to make, for example, a decision or wants to think, you would find that place is where it gives the child comfort, peace of mind. So this is something that we need to observe at home, and then also we said in a school and community, giving some gifts that help with salat, remind of salat, nice prayer mat for girls, to give them abaya or chador. For boys, maybe to give them, for example, I don't know, abba, or rings, for example, perfume, to have their own copy of the Quran at certain age when they can, keep it with respect. Another thing is that it's good to have at home some books for children on salat. Simple, illustrated explanation of salat, stories about salat, hadith about salat, some modern, maybe contemporary stories, some historical stories about Salat, about the life of from the life of the Prophet, Ahlul Bayt, ulama, pious people, up to our age. So we can find lots of good books, alhamdulillah, available, especially in Farsi, in Arabic, but also increasingly more are becoming available in English. So some of these books are good to be kept, some of these books can be borrowed and returned. So we need to make Salat a special part of our life. Keep thinking about it, planning for it. Ask of your friends about good experiences, good practices. The next thing is that we should also create an environment and an atmosphere. So when I say environment, it's more physical. When I say atmosphere, it can be more intellectual, spiritual. An environment, an atmosphere of intizar, waiting for Imam Mahdi. This is also very important. Our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to heaven is partly through hujjah of our time, as we say in Dua Nudbah, أين السبب المتصل بين الأرض والسماء. Quran is the link from heaven to the earth. حبل ممدود من السماء إلى الأرض is the rope extended from the sky to the earth. Imam Zaman is the link from earth to sky. Imam Zaman is with us, is among us, but he connects us to the heaven. Salat is a way of acknowledging nearness of Allah and trying to rise towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. So these are all coming together, Quran, hujjah of time, and then from our side, salat, dua, charity. These are the things that make our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stronger and they raise us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there should be signs, there should be reminders of Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajah Sharif in our homes, in our schools, in our community, even in your car, because sometimes you spend either with children or alone lots of hours in your car. So in the car there can be a nice symbol that reminds you of Imam Zaman. And as part of atmosphere, when you yourself as father, as mother, you are engaged in dua for Imam Zaman, dua ahd, dua nudbah, ziyarat al Yasin. After each salat, you send salam to Imam, you make dua for faraj. Every now and then you discuss, what can we do for coming of Imam Zaman? How can we help? If this is an ongoing discussion in a very natural way in our families, it will help children to become part of this. Reading some poems which are related, some calligraphy, some painting, either done by children themselves or by artists. Maybe you can have a clock which also has symbols related to Imam Zaman. Maybe you can use sometimes rings that when someone presses the ring, it makes a reminder. Of course, these things should be done in balance, not in excess. Maybe we can have a charity box, small, at home, that we put our sadaqat for poor people, but our niyyah is for protection of Imam Zaman and mu'mineen and your family. But you can write, for the health of Imam Mahdi and for the protection of our family and mu'mineen. We put this money and we then give it to needy people. There are also sometimes good diaries and calendars that have hadith or du'as or things about imams, and in particular about Imam Mahdi. That can be also useful. Key rings that also can be reminding us are good things. Maybe in part of your home or in at least musalla, you can use also color lights. For example, when you are there for salat, when you are making dua, you can use green color or blue color, so that it gives a different feeling when you enter that room. Having celebrations for happy occasions, birth anniversaries of Imams, Eid, especially middle of Sha'ban, and making a very happy atmosphere at home is very also helpful. Starting our meals with remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ending with remembrance of Allah and thanks, and also making dua for faraj. Giving gifts to our family members in happy occasions like Eids and birth anniversaries, and especially for Imam Mahdi's birth. Encourage them little by little to memorize some of the du'as for Imam Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Fajr Sharif, like Allahumma kulli waliyyika al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan ilahi adhum al-bala. Some of the du'as just to be able to read even if they cannot memorize, like dua ibn Udba, like Salamun ala Ali Yasin. Encouraging them to say salat on time and follow Imam Mahdi, because wherever Imam Mahdi is, his salat is done in awwalul waqt. And if we say our salat on time, inshallah our salat can rise with his salat. So making salat with remembrance of Imam. Giving gifts that might have, like perfume or clothes, or, sometimes there are some coins that somehow are associated with our Imam. And also sometimes raising some questions and discussions at home related to Imam Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Fajr Sharif. Depending on the age of children, the topic, the level can be adjusted. The next thing, so after Salat, which was the last thing we talked last night, then we talked about culture of Mahdawi at home, an atmosphere of Mahdawi, and the next thing is we need to plan for the leisure time, for free time of children. From 8 to 14, free time becomes very important. In the first 7 years, it's not that important. They should be free to play, to do, things with, creativity, etc. But now, free time is a very sensitive issue. And if we don't plan for their free time or leisure time, they can get into things which are either harmful or at least waste of their energy and time and tiring them, making their eyes tired if they keep watching things, playing, games. Their mind can be tired, even if, for example, it is nothing forbidden there. But many times there are things that come with forbidden things. So we have to be very careful about this. Actually, this is one of the challenges, especially in modern time, what you do with your extra time, with your leisure time. In Islam, in general, we don't have any time that we can say, I am free. I have nothing to do. Yes, we have time for entertainment. We have time to enjoy ourselves in good, activities. But even this for us is something important. It's not just killing your time. Quran says, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. When you complete something, undertake another task. Even, for example, if you want to walk, you want to go to garden, you want to, for example, make some painting to relax, you want to write something as a calligraphy, you want to, do something at home. Everything has a purpose. Everything is serious. Even our jokes, even, for example, you want to entertain each other, it has to be done with seriousness. Not whatever happens, happens. We should be in control, we should plan, we should monitor what we do. So for our children also is very important. If you remember, we had a lecture some years ago, 2 lectures for KLC Youth Track on time management, but before that, 1 lecture for MSN, Muslim School Educational Network, about how to plan our daily time. I mentioned this hadith there. Also in Islamic Lifestyle, Mafatihul Hayat by Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, Hafadahullah. Also we have time, discussion about time and how to divide our time. Let me read for you this beautiful hadith from Imam Kazim alayhi salam. First of all, Imam, in one hadith which is in Wasa'il al-Shia, he says, Inna Allah la yubghidul abda al-nabvam. Inna Allah la yubghidul abda al-farigh. Allah doesn't like a servant who sleeps too much, wasting time. Even sleeping too much can be bad for body, for your physical health, for your mental health, for your spirituality. And our life is short. We should not, waste our time by sleeping too much. Yes, what is needed, certainly we should, give it to our body, but not too much. So Allah doesn't want someone who is nabvam. Nabvam is mubalagha for na'im, means someone who sleeps too much. And also someone who is farigh, someone who has nothing to do. He's always free. Don't you have anything serious to do? At least study, at least do some charity work, help other people. At least go and walk, do some physical exercise. This is one hadith. Another hadith from Imam Kazim alayhi salam that we have it in Tuhaful Uqul, and this is the one that I had mentioned in that lecture, is اجتهدوا في أن يكون زمانكم 4 ساعات. And you can implement this also for your children in the second 7 years. Of course, part of it may apply to them, part of it may not apply to them, but it gives you a range of things that you need to consider. For example, Imam says you should have 4 portions of time. ساعة لمناجاة الله. Part of it is for munajat, prayer, whispering to Allah. وساعة لأمر المعاش. Part of it is for making your living. Of course, children would be a school. They don't need to work, but they need to go to school, they need to study. وساعة لمعاشرة الإخوان والثقات الذين يعرفونكم عيوبكم ويخلصون لكم في الباطن There needs to be a time also that you meet your reliable brothers, for sisters, reliable sisters, that they help you understand your problems. Those that even in your absence, they are your friends. In their batin, in their real self, in their inner self, they are mukhlis for you, they love you. Some, not that in front of you they say, we are good friends, but then in their heart they don't love you. وَسَاعَةٌ تَخْلَوْنَ فِيهَا لِلَّذَّاتِكُمْ فِي غَيْرِ مُحَرَّمٍ. And another time is for ladha, you enjoy yourself. You need some time to enjoy, I don't know, in eating, in drinking, or other halal, غير muharram, something which is not proper. We need also this time of, relaxing and enjoying ourselves in the things that give us pleasure. And Imam Kazim says, وَبِهَذِهِ السَّاعَةِ تَقْدِرُونَ عَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ. With this, you can gain energy for the rest, for the other three. So we should have a plan for our children. They should have a proper time for rest, proper time for eating, drinking, playing, study, but also time for their connection with Allah, part of time for their connection with family. We should spend good quality time with our children. Please make sure that you have your meals together as much as possible. Not just in weekend, not everyone has their own meal. If for lunch, weekdays you cannot be together, for breakfast, for supper, in weekends, have meals together, have some quality time, discussing, sharing news, reading books together, which are suitable for them as well, reading some poems and reflect on them, some stories, some history. Just listen to your children what they like to discuss. So you have to have different items for this kind of times. I can now give you some items that when you want to spend good time together and plan for the leisure time of your children, free time of children of 6 and 7 years, you can consider. So 1, family gathering. 2, visiting relatives. 3, visiting friends. 4, playing with their peers that you trust. 5, traveling sometimes together, short distances, mid-term distances and long-term distances. Sometimes can be for visitation of family and friends, sometimes for, scientific, reasons. For example, there's a museum, there is a good, research center, library, you want to see. Sometimes there are parks we want to see. Sometimes we go for ziyarah, sometimes we go for retreats. It would be excellent if in community, in family, among friends, there can be places that children sometimes also can work, learn something, make some money, feel responsible for it. It's very important. Maybe in summer, maybe, sometime in weekends, it can be a few hours, but it's very good. They learn how to appreciate their time and how to appreciate the money. It is said that once a father who had a bakery said to his son that he should make, for example, 1 coin, 1 dirham, for example. And the son was taking this dirham to the oven. He was, sad, but he left. The next day, Again, he took from his mother, gave to the father, said, I have worked. Father threw it to the oven. He was sad, but he left. So he realized that this is not going to work. So one day he really went to work and obtained 1 dirham as his payment, as his wage, and gave to father. Father again threw it to the oven. He went to take it from the oven, try to find something to bring it out of the oven. Father said, now it shows that you have worked. Every day I was throwing in the oven, you didn't mind that much. But this is something for which you have worked. Now you appreciate. If parents easily provide their children with everything, then sometimes they don't appreciate. So even if you can afford, don't give everything easily to your children. Let them understand that sometimes they have to wait. Let them understand the situation of the poor people. Also let them sometimes to do something. Give them a task and then give them money. Not that as soon as they ask money, or even without asking, you give them too much money so they don't need to do anything. They never then appreciate. They never, work hard if they always are given things easily and freely. So if there can be some workplaces that in a supervised way, little by little, these children can do something. I remember in summer, because at a certain time my mother also had to work. So in summer, my sister and I used to stay with my grandparents. And then sometime my parents, come and visit us, but then in weekend we go home. So one of the things my late grandmother used to do, rahmatullah alayha, was that she was giving us some tasks. For example, to clean rooms of the house. They had, mashallah, big house. So we were helping with cleaning, washing, for example, the tiles, for example, or, cleaning the carpet, for example, or sometimes windows. And then she was giving us money. And we were using that money to buy for ourselves, for example, sometimes, snacks or whatever. So it was very good experience because we were working, so we had something serious to do. So we're not always, just, playing or watching, TV or reading books. Sometimes we were also working. We were feeling happy that we are helping. We are also receiving some money. We could, buy something. Many years ago, I, heard from one of them that one of the Maraja that passed away recently, rahmatullah alayh. So he saw the son of Marja is selling something on the street. And some people maybe say, why this Marja, doesn't stop his child, selling something, or, why he maybe doesn't know, for example. But actually we thought this is a good idea. This adds to our respect that this Marja is not, making his child dependent on him. He says, okay, you like others, if you want money, go and sell something. Of course, not everything. Certainly he has, supervision, what to sell, where to sell, how. But it's very good that although his father is a Marja that is loved by many people, but he wants his child to learn like an ordinary child, the reality of life. Another thing is, if our children can contribute to making exhibitions little by little, in home, in family, in a school, in community. So little by, for example, say, okay, now we are approaching middle of Sha'ban. Now we have few months to prepare. Younger ones can do something. Simple, elder ones can do something more. Sport, healthy sport for them, for their age. Reading books related to Imam Zaman, attending majalis, which add to their ma'rifah and love. Attending gatherings in which, for example, like book clubs or recitation of poems. Starting to collect, maybe collect, for example, stamps or coins that relate to Imams, and in particular Imam Mahdi, or for example, items like key rings or different things they can collect that would make them engaged and also more connected. Recitation and memorization of the Quran and some of the Hadith, helping them learn calligraphy and painting and other arts, how to make handcrafts, competitions. There can be competitions at home, in family, in community, in the school, making them used to think and reflect and draw lessons from events, watching some of useful multimedia productions, learning other languages gradually if they have interest, learning how to perform, play about historical things or ethical stories, like the kind of theater. Planting, gardening. If you don't have a space, maybe in flower pots at home. If you have a little garden, bigger garden, if you involve them in planting and checking and looking after, it would be excellent. Also, if there can be activities in the community, in masjid, would be helpful, helping with the family assignments and tasks, meeting successful people, arrange for them to visit, and you can take them to someone who is successful in, for example, a study in different subjects. There are ulama, there are scientists in the community, there are doctors, there are engineers. Someone is a successful mother, someone is successful in upbringing children, someone is successful in, gardening, in agriculture. Someone has traveled a lot, we can listen to their experiences. So these are some of the things that you can use and plan so that you have productive way of using their free or leisure time. The next thing is about what we should do with respect to media and also with respect to their sexual orientation. Inshallah, we'll discuss this in the next session. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to do our best and to strengthen the ties of families, the ties of brotherhood and sisterhood in the community, and to make our connection with Himself and His awliya very strong, to make our connection with Quran and Hujj of our time very strong. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us always be mindful of Him. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen.